Theodora Blanchfield defined liminal space as, quote, being on the precipice of something new, but not quite there yet. Brilliant. My mentor used the imagery of an acrobat jumping from one bar to another. The point between the release of one bar and the grasping of the next bar, that's liminal space. The book you're about to listen to is a guide for living a life like no one else. In a cultural moment where we're, quote, languishing, as New York Times writer Adam Grant put it, we must ask ourselves if we're doing what God requires of us to truly discover our God-given purpose. Because you have a purpose. God has uniquely equipped you, the one-of-a-kind you, to blaze a trail, to live a life that exemplifies Jesus, the ultimate trailblazer, who himself is one of a kind. But here's the question. Are you willing to persevere through the journey it takes to get there? The character track about to unfold typically progresses in liminal space. We see that thread all throughout Scripture, from Moses to Rahab and even to Jesus. We often remember the moment they embraced their identity as the trailblazers God had called them to be, even as we tend to forget the many dark nights, lonely times, and seasons of desert obscurity they endured to get to that point. In fact, the journey of liminal space usually plays out in a cycle. Liminal space often plays out in 5 key phases. Phase 1, obscurity. The Israelites spent 40 years in the desert before inheriting the Promised Land. Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness before stepping into the spotlight of public ministry. After listening to this, you might feel tempted to grasp immediately for your God-given dream. My advice? Take a breath. Know that God calls you to a long obedience in the same direction, not a cheap climb to celebrity. YouTube has numerous examples of ordinary people who pretend to be war heroes to attain the acclaim, respect, and praise actual defenders of our country deserve. We call this stolen valor. Those of us who attempt to blaze trails of significance without doing real, significant work in the shadows risk falling into that trap. Embrace obscurity. Phase 2, wrestling. Real wrestling with Jesus takes place in the desert or wilderness, where the existential questions of liminal space arise. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? When will I know? How will I get there? I wish I could offer you potent wisdom for answering those questions. Perhaps another book for another day. But for right now, know that wrestling is a good thing. In the wrestling, we gain a clear purpose from God. Phase 3, clarity. As we wrestle with God, we gain clarity. When we dig deep to the roots of difficult questions, God often meets us in our curiosity. In the desert, God told Moses to lead an exodus. In the desert, Jesus received vocational clarity on who he was and who he was not. In the desert, God shaped and formed Paul for his ministry. Phase 4, consecration. As we clarify our calling, consecration often becomes the next phase. How do we set ourselves apart? How do we cleanse and purify our hearts and souls so that we may become all of whoever God has called us to be? We meet our pursuer, Jesus, more quickly when we pursue him instead of being content only to have him chase after us. Phase 5, breakthrough. After consecrating ourselves, we position ourselves to see breakthrough. On holy ground, Moses received an invitation to lead people from slavery to freedom. Out of holy water, Jesus received confirmation of his God-given identity. Holy hands touched Saul's face and healed his blindness. In the holy spaces of life, where cleansing occurs, we often get clearance to blaze the trail. Do you want your life to mean something? Do you long for a life of substance, impact, and transformation? Do you desire to make a difference with everything in you, to have an impact, to blaze a trail? Me too.